the case for an intellectual revolution in Rwanda. I am thinking out loud, and it hurts them. Written by Gabriel Ndayishimiye. Published by LivenBooks. Section 4. Why an anti-intellectual culture cannot continue. A society built on fear and obedience can stand only for so long. While silence may create the illusion of peace, it corrodes the foundations of any truly just and sustainable nation. Rwanda cannot continue as a nation of silent citizens, afraid to think and forbidden to speak. Obedience may have served to consolidate power, but it has done so at the cost of human dignity, creativity, and progress. Firstly, a nation that stifles critical thought will ultimately stagnate. Rwanda may showcase rapid infrastructure development, growing GDP figures, and international praise for its orderly society. But beneath these metrics lies a profound intellectual void. Real progress, the kind that lasts, that empowers, that liberates, cannot be measured by buildings or foreign investment alone. As Amartya Sen has argued, development must be understood as the expansion of human capabilities and freedoms, not merely as economic growth. A society's true advancement is reflected in its ability to allow individuals to pursue lives they have reason to value, which includes the freedom to think, to speak, and to participate in shaping their communities. It must be measured by the freedom of its people to think, to challenge, and to shape their own futures. Without this freedom, Rwanda risks becoming a hollow state, modern in appearance, but deeply fragile. As Paulo Freire taught, oppression does not only deform the oppressor, it deforms the oppressed. When people are denied the right to ask questions, they lose not only their political agency, but also their sense of self. A society that does not think critically cannot innovate, cannot adapt, and cannot protect itself from new forms of exploitation, whether internal or external. Freire warned of fatalism, the belief that nothing can change, that the world must remain as it is. This fatalism can only be countered through education as a practice of freedom, a concept also championed by bell hooks. She argued that education should awaken the consciousness of learners, empowering them to challenge and transform their realities. In Rwanda, where fear has subdued hope, such transformative education is essential to resist the normalization of silence and reclaim the possibility of change. Rwanda, trapped in a cycle of enforced silence, risks falling deeper into this fatalism where fear becomes normalized and hope becomes a distant memory. Secondly, the youth of Rwanda, the supposed torchbearers of the nation's future, are growing up in an environment where obedience is celebrated and questioning is punished. This condition is not accidental, but is systematically reinforced through initiatives such as James Kabarebi's Indoctrination Youth Conferences. These structured state programs aim to cultivate unwavering loyalty to the regime, suppress critical engagement, and instill fear of dissent from an early age. At these conferences, young people are immersed in a controlled narrative that glorifies obedience as patriotism, while dissent is framed as betrayal. Without intervention, these indoctrination camps risk claiming the intellectual and moral autonomy of an entire generation, perpetuating a cycle of silence and submission that will continue to stifle Rwanda's potential for true democratic renewal. These young minds are told to focus on development, entrepreneurship, and unity, but they are not allowed to explore the true meaning of justice, history, or power. This is not education. It is indoctrination, reflecting what Ivan Illich critiqued in Deschooling Society as the institutionalization of learning to reinforce conformity rather than promote genuine understanding. In such a system, education ceases to be a means of liberation and instead becomes a mechanism for producing compliant citizens who internalize the values and interests of the dominant power. And a youth raised in fear will not be able to carry Rwanda forward. They will inherit not a nation of possibilities, but a system of limitations, firmly entrenched by state-sponsored indoctrination camps like those led by James Kabarebe. These camps pose a generational threat, conditioning youth to accept submission as virtue and to view critical engagement as treason. Unless these programs are urgently countered and dismantled, they will perpetuate intellectual and political subjugation, robbing future generations of the capacity to imagine, question, and rebuild a freer Rwanda. As Freire argued, the unfinished character of human beings and the transformational character of reality necessitate that education be an ongoing activity. Rwanda has frozen this process, halting the very growth that makes a society truly vibrant. Thirdly, the longer silence persists, the more dangerous it becomes. Silence is not peace. It is pressure, building in private, unacknowledged and unaddressed, a form of what Akila Mbembe describes as necropolitics, where the state's control over life extends to the management of who may speak, who may grieve, and ultimately who may exist meaningfully within society. In such regimes, silence becomes not just an absence of noise, but a mode of living death, enforced through fear and the systematic denial of voice. History teaches us that societies built on fear eventually face rupture, when the weight of repression can no longer be borne. The absence of open dissent is not a sign of health. It is a sign of deep-seated instability. The regime may control the narrative now, but it cannot control the truth forever. Finally, human dignity demands more. Every Rwandan, by virtue of being human, has the right to think freely, to speak openly, and to participate fully in the life of their nation. To continue under a system that denies this right is not only unjust, it is inhuman. As Freire insisted, to speak a true word is to transform the world. Rwanda's transformation will not come from more roads or higher skyscrapers. It will come when its people can finally speak true words, without fear, without punishment, and without silence.